Hey everyone, today I wanted to talk about this green Saitama deck that I've been playing with the release of One Punch Man. I think there are a lot of ways to build this. It's one of the most interesting decks that we've seen produced for Union Arena so far, and hopefully I can help you pick this deck up after watching this video. So as you're learning this deck, a few concepts that we want to keep in mind. I personally believe that this is the strongest late game deck that we have in Union Arena at this point, with 15 cost Saitama being able to knock out a character on attack, also having impact 3, and then being essentially a must block with damage 7. I think it has the strongest late game condition. Previously, I would probably say that Malevolent Shrine Sukuna was the strongest late game deck, maybe Green Lancelot, but I think that this has taken the place of having the craziest late game. With that much late game power, some downsides definitely exist. I think this deck is very weak to aggro. Something like Ashford Academy I think it would really struggle with. To give yourself the best chances, during this video I want to talk about how to survive to the late game so that you can actually play Saitama. So let's take a look at the deck list. We have 10 0 drops, which is a little bit lower than what I normally play. Generally I am playing 12 0 drops. But we are playing 6 1-drops to help kind of offset this. If you are not happy with potentially bricking in the early game, you could definitely swap out the 2 Tank Top Masters for another common Amai Mask and another Stinger. We are playing 3 Terrible Tornadoes so that we can take advantage of King's removal and trash ability without worrying about finding another Saitama. I had a lot of games where I would trash a Terrible Tornado off of a King Mill, and if one was in life, I felt like having 2 just created too much variance. I also want to point out that we have 19 draw triggers, so this gives you the opportunity to leave a card on top of your deck with Silverfang, take a damage, hit a draw trigger, draw the card that you left there, and then block with your Silverfang to set up your draw for the following turn. So try to keep this in mind when you're ordering your blockers. So let's talk about our game plan. King is key to actually playing your Saitamas. He's Saitama's buddy for a reason. He's your early game removal and forces your opponent to either answer him or he's letting you just fill your trash each turn. The 3 cost Genos is the most efficient energy generator for playing Saitama because he's generating 3 rather than 2, and Silverfang is the most important defensive card in our deck. He can win you games without Saitama due to his 4500 stat line, and he allows you to set up your draws by letting you look at the top card and either trash that or leave it there if it's something that we want to draw on the following turn, or off of a draw trigger, as mentioned. Some key cards to keep in mind that you need to see throughout the game. 1 cost King, he is able to search for himself. Keep this in mind if you aren't finding any relevant targets depending on where you are in the game. Try to find a 3 cost King as soon as possible so that you can begin trashing from the top of your deck. Otherwise, you're going to be looking for Terrible Tornado, Silverfang, or Saitama. We play 3 Terrible Tornadoes so that we can try to see at least 1 each game. I'll frequently use her to pick up a 3 cost Genos to be able to play a 1 action point Saitama in the same turn. Otherwise, she can return Silverfang or Saitama as needed. I also try to keep 1 action point resetter in my hand for the turn I'm going to play Saitama. Commonly, you'll use a combination of King Engine, Genos, or Tornado to reach 15 energy, and you'll be short an action point to play the 2 action point Saitama. Try to save one of these in your hand for later in the game rather than burning it for early game advantage. I did want to cover some tech choices that I've tested and was a little underwhelmed with, but I wanted to highlight how these could be valuable to fit into your deck if you're playing against more aggressive strategies. Moomin Rider, you really want to see this in the first 2 turns of the game, otherwise his value starts to fall off really quickly. He's never going to cleanly block another character and live, and a lot of character removal will answer him really easily. Things like blue or red color triggers are going to take him out of the equation very quickly. Discarding each turn to return him to play also adds up quickly, as you need to balance keeping cards in hand to build your energy, defend yourself, and finally play out your Saitama. If I was going to start playing him, I would probably swap some number of the handsome common Amai Mask or Tank Top Masters to fit in Moomin Rider. Raid Genos is great into low to the ground strategies like Ashford Academy, but more frequently we're seeing people put 4Ks into play, and he just does not block against these 4,000 power characters effectively. I also don't like having to raid onto my 3 cost Genos because it feels like I'm starting to delay my energy generation, so I'm less willing to raid onto him in the early game when I could just be playing a Silverfang out. I think these cards are worth consideration, I just prefer what I'm currently playing over them at this point. And here are a couple cards that I see showing up in other lists, and I wanted to quickly touch on why I'm not including these. For Hero Association, the best cards I feel like I could be playing off of them is going to be either Watchdog Man or a 3-cost Genos. Since this only has 6 targets in my list, I'd prefer to just play Handsome Mass since it's more consistent, and it could let me replay characters like King Searcher or the Draw Discard Genos twice. I'm playing Stinger instead of Suryu for the additional energy boost. I feel like Suryu is weak on defense against most decks that are aggressively pushing up, because most of the time their characters will be 2000 power themselves. Yes, we're going to miss out on the draw trigger, but we make up for that in consistency with the energy spike that Stinger can provide. Serious Punch is awesome, and I wish that this had any kind of trigger, even just draw, but I feel like once we have Saitama in play, generally I should be ahead enough in the game that we should be in a decent position to win. I also find that when I am playing Saitama, he's generally my last action points, so having additional action points left over to play Serious Punch can be pretty difficult. I'd rather keep my energy generation consistent in the early game, rather than including a splashy removal spell. Some general tips that I've picked up while playing the deck: I try to raid 1 king earlier in the game to spike my energy generation and to start trashing from my deck each turn. If they are able to remove your king, that's another 2 cards in your discard in addition to the 3 that you've trashed. When playing other cards each turn and then trashing with king, you're generally reducing the cost of your Saitama by 1 each turn that you have a king sitting in play. Leave one of your small kings in your energy in case you are able to hit a raid out of life. This can save you an action point for the following turn while also acting as removal if you have a Saitama in hand. I try to keep 2 Saitamas in my hand if possible so that I am able to discard 1 to king for removal while also holding the other to play once I am able to hit 15 energy. Otherwise, you will need to find a tornado to return 1 from your trash once you are able to play it out. When you are able to finally play Saitama, if your front line is full, I recommend replacing the king that you use to play it whenever possible. You're losing out on some energy generation for the following turn, but a well-timed removal event from your opponent could allow them to win on their turn by attacking with their characters from energy. Now let's talk about how to beat it. This Saitama deck is scary, and like I said, I think it has the best late game in Union Arena currently, so you have to be proactive and push damage early. Delay your normal game plan and push up your 0 and 1 drops aggressively to deal early damage while Saitama is setting up their energy. Once your opponent puts a Watchdog Man or Silverfang into play, try to have 3 to 4 attackers against their 1 to 2 blockers. Silverfang has the best stats in this deck besides Saitama, and he can actually be targeted with removal. Use your special events to remove Silverfang when he hits the board to prevent them from setting up their draws for each turn. Saitama can't be removed by effects, but he can be frozen. Cards like Nobara match up really well into this deck, while allowing you to push additional damage. Whenever your opponent does have a king in their front line, keep an eye on how much energy they're generating. Generally, if they have 15 to 20 cards in their trash, and are generating 8 energy or more on their field, that's the time to remove their king. A 3-cost Genos and a king engine might be the final energy spike that they need to put Saitama into play. Finally, Saitama is scary, but don't concede the game once he hits the field. Special, color, and final triggers can be ordered as you choose when you take multiple hits off of Saitama, and these could allow you to take another turn. That final turn might be what you need to push up 4 characters from your energy to deal the final 1 to 2 points of damage. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope you found it helpful. As always, please comment any questions or video requests that you might have. Thanks and have a good one.